Hey guys, it's Quinn. The latest installment of our reviews of the James Bond series. We're going to be taking a look at what many consider to be the best Roger Moore Bond film, and indeed the best Bond film in the 1970s, The Spy Who Loved Me. So after Dud and The Man with the Golden Gun, the Bond series was under a lot of chaos. Critics were predicting the end. Harry Saltzman, who's one of the two main Bond producers, had to sell off his partnership with Albert Broccoli because of financial issues, and Roger Moore just didn't look in tip-top shape after his Golden Gun performance. So for the series to stay alive, they needed a truly great film. So after 3 years of work, we get the 1977 product and the 10th official James Bond film, The Spy Who Loved Me. So after a really cool old-school gun barrel that harkens back to You Live Twice Connery days, we open to a submarine doing the exciting task of shouting coordinates and playing chess with a weird shot of porn in the background in one of the scenes. It's Bond, people. Something bad is apparently happening outside, which is called foreshadowing, kids, when we get a shot of a naval base officer who explains that the sub has gone missing. We then meet one of my favorite characters in the series, General Gogol, who becomes a series regular for the rest of the Roger Moore era. We then meet a Russian agent in this film's Bond girl Triple X, played by Barbara Bach. We then cut to Bond making love to the worst actress in history.
Oh, James. I cannot find the words.
And then we get a really great chase where Triple X's boyfriend is killed and Bond escapes in arguably the best stunt in the series. I'll talk about this later, but this pre-title is just very impressive at how it introduces so many characters and is still interesting, and honestly that sums up this film as a whole. But anyways, after one of my favorite theme songs and title sequences in the series as a duo, like top 10 for both for me, we are off into the film proper. We then see one scene after another where Bond and Triple X are both given a mission to go to Cairo to follow leads on this missing sub. What then follows is one of the most creepy scenes in this series. Remember back in Diamonds Are Forever how there was a scene when Mr. Winton Kidd killed 3 people in the desert? Well, imagine that, but with absolutely no camp at all. It's just a man who's our main villain, Carl Stromberg, just sitting in a chair murdering people with pushes of buttons. The whole thing having orchestra music playing in the background, having the secret lair come out of the water. It's all very unsettling. What we find out is that Stromberg has created a submarine tracking system explaining how the subs went missing in the pre-title sequence, but that someone duplicated the system and was trying to sell it, and that this duplication is now in Cairo. We then meet the main henchman of the film, Jaws, played by Richard Kiel, who's also in Moonraker, who is sent to Cairo to go pick up this tracking system. Bond then meets an old friend in Egypt who's a device for exposition, knows a lot about Egypt, who informs Bond to meet a man named Fakesh. Upon trying to meet Fakesh, one of Stromberg's henchmen tries to kill Bond with the help of a woman who has a really, really weird change of heart.
No!
Gotta guess the power of boners really is stronger. But anyways, before Bond throws him off a roof, but not before he tells Bond that Fakesh is at the pyramids. Fakesh is killed by Jaws there, and Bond reads Fakesh's calendar to find out that he was to meet a man at a local club. Bond and Triple X, or Anya as people call her, both go to the club, and after the first real mention of Tracy since On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Many lady friends, but married only once. Wife killed.
All right, you've made your point.
You're sensitive, Mr. Bond.
About certain things, yes.
Both Bond and Anya meet Calvert to bid for the microfilm instructions of the submarine tracking system, but Calvert is killed by Jaws, who runs off with the microfilm. Both Bond and Anya follow and recover the microfilm from Jaws, and as they try to escape, though, we get puns galore.
Can you play any other tune? Let's try reverse, that's backwards.
And we get a killer from Anya. Oh, it's beautiful.
Shaken, but not stirred.
Got him. Anyways, they drive off, but before this all happens, we get a new conductor takes over, dare I say hijacks the film, and in one of the weirdest moments ever, it feels like we're in a Tom and Jerry cartoon. It's kind of creepy, actually. Anyways, Anya gasses Bond and takes the microfilm from him, but something that happens here, which I've never noticed until I watched it this one time, is that they play the Lawrence of Arabia theme song here, and I know that it isn't a big deal, but I personally think it's one of the best theme songs for any movie, so I love the fact that they include it for the Bond series and in particular this scene. Anyways, Bond heads to Q Branch in the middle of Egypt where he sees General Gogol, Anya, Anya, and M. They all examine the film along with Q, and after Bond and Anya have a dick measuring contest over who can spot more things in the film, they find a connection with the film to Carl Stromberg from earlier. Bond and Anya travel by train because for some reason Bond hasn't noticed a pattern by now, when to the surprise of the 4-year-old in the room, Jaws jumps out. Now Anya may be smarter than Jaws, but as the quote-unquote best KGB agent, I'd honestly put her on a solid dark horse status. Maybe, give Jaws a run for his money. Well, okay then. Anyways, Bond has to be the man of the house and ends up defeating Jaws in one of the best fights in the film. The next day we are introduced to the most beautiful, sexy car beside the DB5 and Goldfinger, the Lotus Esprit, which has become a sort of staple of this film and arguably the franchise as a whole. It's also nice because it gives Q more to do in this film, kind of like in License to Kill a few films later. Bond and Anya get a tour of Stromberg's ocean lair, which there are really cool shots of because of how large the damn thing looks like. It's great cinematography, but it's here that we find out the ability Stromberg has to basically take over the world and then wait out the destruction in the middle of the ocean. It's Moonraker, but with more logic behind it, basically. We then get back on land. Stromberg sends Jaws after Bond and Anya, and after a great chase in which the Lotus goes underwater, couples drama goes down. Bond spills the beans and admits that he killed Anya's boyfriend. So now there's some beef between the Russian and Englishman because, there wasn't any before that. And it's also uncomfortable because the lady comes to the door to give Bond a message, and it's so needlessly sexualized that I don't know why it's there. But anyways, who am I to complain about gratuitous sexuality in a Bond film? Anyways, Bond and Anya board a U.S. submarine who is captained by the same actor who played a small role in Diamonds Are Forever. I like that little, twist in there. The sub is immediately captured by Stromberg, though, and the crew is locked up with Bond and Anya taken aside after they are recognized. It is here that we find out the devious plan. He's going to use the submarines that he has taken the bombs out of to bomb Moscow and New York, who will mistake it as a first strike. And after they both obliterate each other, only Stromberg and his underwater society will exist, with the rest of humanity being destroyed. Which, you gotta ask, how will, Madagascar be hit? But anyways, again, a more realistic Moonraker, if I can even say that. Anyways, Stromberg takes Anya back to Atlantis, which is home base, and after some of the worst small-scale mannequin work I think I've ever seen, Bond is sent to be locked up with the rest of the sailors while Stromberg's men take the subs to firing position. But somehow, someway, with dozens of guards all having their guns on Bond, Bond escapes and all hell breaks loose. He sets all the sailors free, and after the operation room is shut down in Thunderball fashion, it's Bond and hundreds of faceless men versus even more bad guy henchmen. After defeating the red shirts, or orange in this case, it is found out that they can't get into the control room because there's an armor plating protecting the room. So after a great scene in which Bond takes the charge out of a bomb, Bond uses the charge to blow up the armor plating and take control of the ship. Once in, they tell the two Stromberg ships new coordinates to bomb, which are each other's ships, and in doing so, instead of bombing New York and Moscow, they simply take each other out. After doing this, Bond heads over to Stromberg's lair, Atlantis, to save Anya.
I just got this signal from the Pentagon on instructions from the Security Council. Destroy Atlantis fast.
Has Anya on there?
I know, James. I'm sorry.
I have to get her off. The equipment Q sent for me. Can I have it?
Sure.
Yeah, where's that damn QX Mach? I could have sworn there's just lying around here somewhere. You always lose those things, don't you? Anyways, Bond goes to Atlantis using this new boat, and after getting past Stromberg's trapdoor, Bond kills the man by shooting him in, let's just say, gentleman's area, and then in good form shooting him 8 more times. Harsh, I know, but you guys just wait till For Your Eyes Only License to Kill. Bond saves Anya, and Jaws dodges a bullet, eats a shark, and survives being drowned swimming into the next film. Bond and Anya escape, and as Anya is about to shoot him for killing her fiancé at the beginning of the film, Bond pops open a bottle of champagne and all is forgiven, I guess. General Gogol and M see the two forming diplomatic relations, and then the theme song plays, and that is The Spy Who Loved Me.
Nobody does me better, makes me feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it half as good as you, baby, you're the best.
The Spy Who Loved Me is the third Roger Moore Bond film, and just like almost all Bond actors, this is probably his best. It's got everything you can love. It's a series that depended heavily on the Cold War as its source material. It was a perfect idea to have Bond be the one who sort of mediates the situation, like he's above nuclear annihilation or something like that. His chemistry with Anya is perfect, even though Barbara Bach isn't the greatest of actresses, but then again, a lot of Roger Moore Bond girls aren't. But anyways, there are little tensions of whether or not she's going to betray him is something that I really enjoyed rewatching, even though I've seen this film many times. But I think to really make this review proper, I need to start with where I left off in the Golden Gun review. There I talked about how Moore tried to act too much like Connery, and how that was the last film before Saltzman sold his half of the Bond partnership to Albert Broccoli. So because of all this, they needed to make sure the next film was great, that being this film, so that people would still believe in the series, instead of thinking it was a series needing to die, kind of like Transformers and Terminators right now. Now, because of all this, they went with a story that could only be improved, and The Spy Who Loved Me fits the bill. It is famous as the Bond book, where Bond doesn't show up really until the end, and has a plot that could really be played around with a lot. So by giving it a staple theme, that being the Carly Simon song, having the stakes Connery level high like You Only Live Twice, and having the great powers involved such as the US and Soviets, they laid the groundwork for a big scale film, which is what this film needed to be. Now, the reason this film works is because it tries in as many ways possible to be great. You have one of the most attractive Bond girls up to this point, you have awesome locations and even better uses of models and set designs to create a scale of grandness. You have literally the largest and most intimidating henchman that is physically possible, and you have a villain that acts like a From Russia with Love Blofeld. Even the score acts powerfully with a combination of the Bond theme, Lawrence of Arabia theme, and the Spy Who Loved Me theme, all playing to create this sort of fun yet strong sound throughout. You have the greatest stunt up to this point in the series right at the beginning of the film. You have a really old school gun barrel at the beginning, and my god, I've said this before and I'll say it again, the theme song and sequence to it are perfect, and honestly might be my favorite in the series. But anyways, that's all technical stuff. Why is this film good on a subjective level? Well, it's simple. The camp isn't over bloated, and the balance between fun and serious hasn't been done so well, at least for me, since Goldfinger, who was actually more silly than this film was. This film makes you buy into everything that's happening, whether it be that Jaws can kill a shark without breaking his sweater, that Bond can basically dodge bullets when escaping the guards. It's all here and it's all fun. The jokes are clever, the throwbacks to Tracy are slick, the dialogue, if you actually listen to it, the dialogue is sharper than just about all Bond films, and the story is complicated enough to keep you entertained, but simple enough to follow along. What I'm trying to say is that the Bond film is known for its escapism aspects, and this film is exactly that, and is honestly a damn near perfect Bond film. Sure, there may be things to nitpick in this film, just like all Bond films, like the Deus Ex Machina that keeps showing up, or how every character should have drowned in the end, but as a film that I just want to look back at and take in as a whole, it is definitely the crown jewel of the Roger Moore era, and honestly, one of the best in this series. If I had to sum it up, this film is as good as its henchman Jaws. Sure, it's a little slow, but when it's an action scene, it's a campy series ball of perfection. So please rewatch this film. It may not be my personal favorite Roger Moore film, but it is by far the best. Now, one last thing I really just want to dive into, because I feel like it's very, very strong in this film, is the very subtle actions that go on, especially in the dialogue. One key example is when they're in the club and Bond says au revoir to Anya, and then later on Stromberg says goodbye to Bond, and then Bond replies by saying au revoir to Anya. It's a very, very subtle thing, and I only really noticed it this time around, but the fact that they keep these small little details that rewatching this film many times is when you start to pick up on, like the Lawrence of Arabia theme song. I think it's very powerful because it sort of gives underlying context to the film, something that a film like The Man with the Golden Gun does not have at all. This film is really powerful in how it uses little subtle nuances in its direction to make it a objectively better film than the likes of Live and Let Die, Octopussy, even For Your Eyes Only. As the Roger Moore Bond film, I believe that this is objectively the best, at least for the Roger Moore era, and objectively one of the best films in the series. If you enjoyed this film and you enjoyed this review, be sure to like and subscribe for more Bond content. Again, please subscribe, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.